Your health boils down to your daily habits. What are you supposed to do if all of your habits need improvement? Stick around and I'll go through the process of making this change less overwhelming. Hey guys, Dr. Ashley here. So making lifestyle changes can be difficult because it really does come down to persistent and consistent changes to your daily or weekly habits. This can feel very daunting and overwhelming if you have a long way to go, if every area of your lifestyle can use some improvement. So today we're going to discuss where to start. Essentially, we are going to narrow down and focus on what is your biggest domino and how do we push that over so that all of those other dominoes are easier to fall into place. I've discussed on the channel before how all of these different aspects of your health are interrelated and affect each other both negatively and positively. So this means that improving one area will have beneficial effects on other areas. A great example of this is exercise. So exercising regularly helps improve your sleep. Good sleep and regular exercise both improve your stress. So see how all of those things are related. The more you lower your stress levels, the better your sleep is. So it's just like picking up one area will have positive downstream effects on all of the other areas. In the past, I've discussed two different ways to get started when you have a plethora of changes to make. One is picking the low-hanging fruit. What is something that's not going to cause a lot of drama or pushback from you in your life and is easy to either drop or adopt? A great example of this is eating off of your kid's plate when you're not hungry. You know you're not hungry. And just bringing a little bit of focus to that and saying, okay, I'm not going to, snack while I'm making my kids' lunches or finish up the last several bites after my kids finish dinner because I know I'm physically full, and just bringing a little bit of consciousness to that action. So that's a low-hanging fruit example. Today, however, we're going to be talking about picking up those bigger dominoes, those starting spots that may be a little stickier, may be a little harder to actually get moving forward, may require a little bit more change, but will have more profound impact on the rest of these lifestyle aspects. And so I'll give you examples and some good questions to think about along the way so you can figure out what that domino is for you and move forward with your health. So before we get into figuring out what your big domino or starting domino is, I just wanted to do a quick review of our health pillars, or these are the foundational aspects of our health that we do want to focus on and keep moving towards healthier and healthier goals and lifestyles and habits. So you get a general idea of the plethora of places that you can get started. So the first pillar is what we're putting into our bodies. So that includes our diet or our nutrition. It also includes environmental toxins that we take in from our environment and substances that we choose to consume on our own, whether that be alcohol or tobacco or drugs. So that is one pillar. The next pillar is movement. And that includes joyful movement, whether that looks like dancing, walking, recreational things, and also dedicated exercise. The next one is sleep. I've talked about this one a lot and how important sleep is. Regular, consistent, high quality sleep of the appropriate quantity for you, how foundational that is to your overall health. Next is stress management and emotional well-being. How do you feel on a regular basis? One great way to look at this is, what are the top 3 emotions that you feel on a regular basis? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it stress? Is it apathy, where you just don't really feel a lot of anything? Also tied up into this includes our financial well-being. How much stress or lack of stress is your finances playing in your overall health are also things to consider here. Next is social health, and that one includes our relationship, our sense of community, our sense of connection with others. In our modern society, we have this idea that we are very connected, but it's an artificial platform. It's through YouTube, it's through Facebook, it's through the internet, and we're not actually getting together and connecting with people on a more foundational level. And we evolved as a very social species, and our physiology, our brains, our bodies still need that connection and that sense of support. And then finally, our spiritual health, and that looks different for everybody, but I like to define it as a sense of meaning in your life. Are you connected to a higher power? And do you have a sense of purpose? Why are you here on this earth? And there are so many people who have felt like they have lost their sense of purpose, and that has very detrimental effects on the rest of their health pillars. So these are the top health pillars and the top categories that you can start looking at. So the first step is to take some time, sit down and write out where you could be improving and where you're happy with your regular habits for each of these pillars. So I'll go through and I'll list them again for you so you can write them down and actually go through the very specific what can you improve. So pillar number 1 is nutrition and things that you're putting into your body, including environmental exposures and toxins and substances. Pillar number 2 is movement. Pillar number 3 is sleep. Pillar number 4 is stress management and emotional well-being. Pillar number 5 is social health. And pillar number 6 is spiritual health. So really take some time to sit down and say, okay, so let's look at pillar number 1, nutrition. Don't just say eat a healthier diet. What specifically does that mean? Consume more fruits and vegetables on a regular basis. Consume less processed food. For instance, say you drink a soda a day. What specifically do you want to get to? Do you want to have 1 soda as a treat per week? Do you drink more alcohol than you would like? Would you like to cut back or stop drinking for a period of time? Go through and list out all of the specific habits, the specific goals that you want to achieve with each of these pillars. All right, so after you go through that step, you're going to have this very long list of things that you want to change, habits you want to either make or break, and goals that you have. And looking at that, the length of that list might feel overwhelming, but that's okay. Just remember, we're starting with 1, and the goal is to figure out which one to start with. After you have your list, then you're going to sit down, and I have some questions for you to go through so that it helps you decide, okay, where am I going to get my biggest bang for my buck, and which one should I give top priority to? And this is where the idea of the biggest domino to fall, or the first domino to fall, comes in. I first heard about this from Russell Brunson, who is the founder, one of the co-founders of ClickFunnels. And he specifically talks about it in a way of selling things to people. So what is the biggest barrier? And if you can make that barrier fall down, then all of the other dominoes kind of fall sequentially after that. And I love this analogy, especially when it comes to our health and our daily habits. Okay, so now let's go through some of the questions that you want to ask yourself in regards to these habits to help you choose which is going to be the best for you. One thing I did want to mention is that there is no one right answer here. It's not like there is one specific thing that I think you should do. I think there are other people out there who will have very strong opinions on which habit it is that you should tackle first. But I think this is your health, your lifestyle. You know yourself the best, and you'll be able, with these questions and some self-reflection, to figure out what is that biggest domino for you. All right, so let's go through the questions. The first question is, which pillar, if tackled, would have the biggest impact on your health? Overall, is there just one thing that you could do that would have the most bang for your buck? Question number 2, which pillar, if tackled, would have the best chance of improving the other pillars? As I gave you the example in the opening, if you exercise, maybe that will help improve your sleep, and both of those things will help improve your stress levels. So which is going to have the most impact on the other pillars? Question number 3, which of these habits could you prioritize during more hectic times? So life ebbs and flows. So in a perfect world, we'd be able to do all of the habits. In the real world, things happen and kids get sick, or kids have crazy schedules, or you have a big project at work, or you have vacation coming up. There's so many things that happen, which could be easy once you got it, made it an actual habit to do on a regular basis, to always fall back on to take care of yourself. Question number 4, which pillar has the least amount of barriers? And question number 5, which pillar has the most amount of barriers? All right, let me go through the questions again and just give you some examples or ways that you could think about them. So question number 1, which habit or pillar, if you tackled, would have the best overall impact on your health? So again, this is very personal. What do you think would help you feel the best and have the best impact? One of the things that, especially when I'm seeing patients one-on-one, that often comes up for me is tobacco use. Like, if you could give up using cigarettes, I do think that would have the best impact on your overall health, because the tobacco and the nicotine just has such profound effects in so many areas of your life. Again, that's my opinion for some of the patients that I see. But there's a lot of other people that I see that I think there could be a difference. Again, one of the pillars that I think we don't often think about is spiritual health, and especially this sense of purpose. If you had this deep drive to say, I know exactly why I was put here, this is what I'm going for, it gives you so much energy that feeds into other areas of your life. So it makes it easier to exercise. It makes it easier to get up in the morning and keep a consistent sleep schedule. So those are just 2 examples of things that I think, habits that I think have such profound impact on the rest of your health. Question number 2, which habit or pillar, if tackled, would have profound impacts on all of the other pillars? So let's talk about stress management. If you were able to manage your stress better and your emotional well-being, and you just felt more pleasant, more calm most of the time, what else could you accomplish? Again, we already mentioned that with lower stress levels, maybe your sleep would improve. Maybe your sense of relationships and connections with others would also improve. It's really hard for us to connect with each other on kind of metaphysical level, I would say, when we're living in a high stress state. So if you can bring your stress levels down, maybe your friendships, your family relationships, your intimate relationships would all improve. And maybe if you had less overall sense of stress, it would be a lot easier to make better health decisions in other areas, like when it came to your nutrition, or to choose to move your body in some way over a sedentary activity like watching TV. Question number 3, which habit can you always fall back on when things get a little bit more hectic and other aspects of your life are out of control? Again, exercise is one that I really like. I'm going to tell you kind of personally how I tackle this, but exercise is always a great one because it is always available to me, whether we're on vacation, whether I'm really busy. I just know that sometimes I don't always have access to a kitchen and my food prep that I always do for my nutrition aspect. But I always have the availability of exercise, and I know just how profound that lowers my stress levels in those hectic times. So just kind of thinking about what is something that you can always make a priority when life gets a little crazy. Question number 4. Which health habit has the least amount of barriers? And I would say that ties into question number 3, which one can you always fall back on? So essentially, you're picking a habit that is a non-negotiable for you. You have no excuses. It has the least amount of barriers. You can always fall back on it when things get a little bit crazy. Think about what are barriers to getting habits done. And I would say time is a huge one. Energy is a huge one. Supplies in certain settings. For example, with certain exercise, I need certain equipment if I'm doing resistance training, but I always have walking and yoga available to me. Or again, my example of I may not always have my kitchen and all of my kitchen supplies available. So nutrition may have a little bit more barriers for me personally than exercise does. And then question number 5, which habit or pillar has the largest amount of barriers? And I think there's 2 ways that you can look at this question. First, you could say, all right, I know that this specific piece, let's say nutrition, is going to be hard for me because my diet is not where I want it to be. There's so many different aspects that I want to change about it. And I know that I can implement the other ones easier. I could exercise, I could manage my stress, I could sleep better, all of those things. So I'm going to tackle nutrition last after I feel like all of those are in better order. Another way you could look at it is say, okay, well, what if I just tackle nutrition? If I can get nutrition figured out, everything else is cake from there, right? I have so many fewer barriers to those others, and getting my nutrition on point will help improve my energy levels. It'll help improve my stress and my mental health. It'll help improve my sleep by getting some of the junk substances out. So what if I chose this hardest one to tackle first, and that's actually my biggest domino? And again, what is going to be the easiest way for you? Are you somebody who is like, man, if I am exercising well and sleeping well and my stress is managed, then I feel like I can really tackle nutrition the way I want? Or are you somebody who's like, I know nutrition is going to be the biggest barrier for me, so let me just take some time and focus on it, and then I know everything else will fall into place. So that's where we get the personalization of these questions so that you can decide what is the best for you. So as promised, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what I feel is my biggest domino, and that specifically for me is exercise. Historically, I always thought of it as nutrition, and I do feel like what you put into your body is such a foundational aspect of your overall health. And I do make it a priority, but as I've already mentioned, there are a lot of barriers, specifically for me, for making my nutrition great all of the time. I would say at least 80 to 90% of the time, my nutrition is very, very good, but things come up. Again, there's barriers like time and energy and children and travel and illnesses that just get in the way of that. So I do try to prioritize it, but it's not always a 100% I can fall back on it. So in addition to some of those barriers, another thing that switched me from nutrition was watching my patients age. I see 2 categories of elderly and aging patients. Ones that do it well and ones whose bodies and minds start to deteriorate. And one of the biggest things that I identified, in addition to prioritizing some of those health pillars, was exercise. Those who remained active, their bodies and their minds remained active. And so I shifted from top priority being nutrition to top priority being movement. And that's really one of the things that I'm always saying, like, okay, I can exercise every week. I will find multiple days where I can get in some form of movement. So what that looks like to me is that I get up at 5 a.m. most days so that I have an hour before my kiddo wakes up at 6 to get that exercise in. I don't look at emails. I don't check my phone except for to check the weather if I'm going on a walk. I have no distractions at that time, and that's my biggest priority. Also, I find that if I wait and do it, if I push it off and I say, oh, I'm just going to do it later, the chances of it happening drop dramatically. So if I get up and do it, it's like 99% of the time it will happen unless something crazy occurs. If I push it off till later, then all of a sudden I have other things to do, like take care of my son, or do laundry, or cook, or organize, or so many other excuses that it just doesn't happen nearly as often if I don't do it first thing in the morning. Also, when I exercise, again, I sleep better. My stress levels start out lower in the day. I have more energy to devote to other things throughout the day. And I'm more motivated to nourish my body in a healthier way, knowing that I got up and did something healthy for me. So that, it kind of ticks off a lot of, it's definitely the one I can do in the most chaotic of times. It has the least barriers for me when I do it in this way. It has the most impact on the other pillars for me. So this was definitely the biggest domino for me to fall that helps improve my overall health and all of the other health pillars. So I really encourage you to take some time and go through this process. Write down all of the health habits that you want to make or break for each of those pillars. And then ask yourself those questions to try to figure out which is the biggest domino for you and see the benefits start adding up over time. So if you knock over this domino, watch all of the other dominoes fall. If you feel like stress is your biggest issue and you don't really know where to start, go check out my website and download your free guide on 5 techniques to reduce cortisol levels and thus stress in minutes. And that's a beautiful way for you to start reducing those levels in your body so that you can figure out better ways to tackle it over the long term. You can head over to selfhealingdrashley.com to pick that up. Until next time, we'll see you.